He's one of our favorites, LSU great T-Bob Hebert. You see him all over the place now. Radio down in the state of Louisiana, snaps as part of the volume, and he's also on the stadium. I mean, my gosh, I don't know when he ever rests. We're just extremely fortunate he will do our show still.
Yeah, Royal Payne actually writes in and says, over under on when T-Bob forgets one of the platforms he's on, misses his slot, and gets terminated from one of his 100 platforms.
Thank God he didn't forget us. What is up, T-Bob? How are you?
Do you have a scheduler?
Oh, what's up, you bastards? Y'all ready to get your ass kicked in T-Town tomorrow? Because I'm feeling a little hungry, and it's looking like we got some Alabama on the menu. What better way to kick off turkey season than when feasting on the flesh of a declining empire? And let's be painfully clear about that, boys. You know I'm a fan of history, right?
Yes.
Nobody ever wants to be alive during civilizational decline, right? Like being in England when suddenly the Roman Empire retreats, and just a generation later, you're looking at all of these bathhouses and these statues, these temples. You're like, my God, who made these? What sort of technology did they have? These giants among men, these wizened old, like, how in the world are human beings capable of this? Well, guess what, Alabama? That's you, okay? That is you. Let's be painfully clear. You've already been cucked by Kirby. Brian Kelly beat you last year. 2 out of 4, about to be 2 in a row, and 3 out of 5. And look, and you're on the cusp of not winning a national championship in 3 years for the first time ever in the Saban era in Tuscaloosa. And look, I get it, right? The same way that progress is not always linear, right? Sometimes you take a step back to take 2 forward. Decline is not always linear. And so maybe there's a last gasp for somewhere in Alabama in there. Maybe you sneak another natty somewhere in there. But I need every one of you Tide fans listening right now. I need you to really hear me here. And I need you to understand this, because this is terrifying, but it's true. And you got to accept it. Every one of you listening will die. Your heart will stop. You will be dead in the ground, heaven, hell, reincarnation, whatever the hell you believe in. I don't care. You will be dead and you will never experience what you've currently just gone through these last 20 years. Full stop. Doesn't matter. You have that awful knowledge that, like an athlete that never finds his identity when he gets done playing, you have already peaked. You will never experience the consistent greatness that you have had over the last 20, no matter what. It ain't happening. So literally anything you eat from here on out will be less than for the golden meals that you've stuffed in your fat little gut for the past 20 years, okay? So, again, decline, the downward trend. It's only going to continue. Saban's eventually retire. You're never going to hire anybody who's going to come close to sniffing him. And for the rest of your life, you're just going to look back on the 2010s as what a great time it was. If only you could get back there. But again, you never will. You'll die before you ever will. And on the other hand, LSU's on the up and up, on the come up. BK's coming for that natty. It's a process, and the process continues by beating that Alabama stanky ass in T-Town tomorrow.
Hey, good use of the word process, so appreciate you using the Alabama vocabulary there. 5-3, I will tell you that your ancestors told me the same thing back in 1980 about Bear Bryant, and Alabama would never see anything better than Bear Bryant again. Oh, wait a second. Let me look at my Gucci watch here. We just lived through it, 5-3. We just lived through something better than Bryant.
Oh, okay. So, I want you to hold on to that hope, Jim. I want you to hold on every single day as you get older and you get one step closer to the grave. I want you to hold on to the hope that you're going to find somebody better than Nick Saban. And then at your funeral, I'll stand over your body and we'll see who was right. We'll see who was correct.
It's a date.
I'll lay a rose on your casket as I chuckle under my breath.
Hey, it does feel different. We were talking about this earlier. I mean, Alabama used to dick whip teams, and they were up 21-0 after the first quarter, and they have trailed at halftime 4 times this year. And if LSU does, in fact, win this game Saturday night, this will be multiple regular season losses in back-to-back years for Nick Saban.
Look, there are a million, in all seriousness, there are a million metrics that we could look at that it is a decline in Alabama. Obviously, we all know that, right? But they're still in a fine spot. 1 loss, control their own destiny. The road to a national championship is very clear. Now it involves things like beating Georgia and everything else. So, It's worse, but again, it's only worse because of the extreme heights in which you occupied. Like for most teams would desperately want to be where Alabama is. And I'll say this is what actually worries me most about Alabama this year is you have a Nick Saban that appears to be completely rejuvenated by actually having to be in legitimate fistfights, right? Do you know how awful it has to be to try to motivate from ahead when you're doing the murder ball thing and you're beating teams 50-0? Do you know how awful it has to be to try to find an edge there, right? And try to like sell your team on the idea that you're not good enough or you're not this or that. Like, it's way easier when you're actually in a fight. You're actually tasting a little blood. Your adrenaline's actually going. You're not having to fake it. Like, you're actually just experiencing that feeling. And to me, as flawed as this Alabama team is, I think in a weird, paradoxical way, it's actually given Saban life because he's going back to what he used to know, which were competitive games sort of week in and week out. And he's getting back to sort of the climb that made him great in the first place. So as far as Saban goes, he remains as, I think, dangerous and, quite frankly, energetic as ever. And look, this is going to be a game that puts to the test the old cliche, whether or not you really are just as strong as your weakest link. Because LSU has the stronger strong link, but they without a doubt have the weaker weakest link. And so what ends up folding, being the difference there? Well, we gonna see.
T-Bob Hebert is with us at T-Bob53 on Twitter. He's on the JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline. LSU's defense has improved since Ole Miss, or they've just played Auburn and Army's offense since Ole Miss? Which is more true?
Yeah, no, I mean a mixture, right? Yeah. Like no doubt. I would say also, though, the second half against Mizzou was pretty good, especially by LSU standards. It was actually like dominant, right? But that's the only time in which I think you've had a good offense this year that you've handled well. That said, the problems against Ole Miss were so astronomically bad. Like, so day one, just what the hell are you doing bad? Like, guys not doing simple jobs that, if nothing else, the basic understanding of responsibility and do your job appears to be improving. But, I mean, guys, I'm not going to sell you a bill of goods on this LSU defense. You're talking about a defense that ranked dead last for the majority. So y'all know what stop rate is? Very simple defensive metric. Yeah. Just, when the other team touches the ball, do they score or not? Bam. Super easy, right? LSU was dead last in the Power 5 for over half the season. They were, I think, 120-something out of 130 for a while there. And now they're down to 3 true freshman corners and Sage Ryan, safety, trying to play on the outside, none of who are very good. Now you're out an All-American defensive lineman for the rest of the season in Mekhi Wingo. So it's a bit of a weird thing, though, right? Where it's like, okay, if the defense was already crap, then all this is taking more excrement and piling it on the heap. Like, yeah, sure, maybe you got slightly worse where you're already bad, but does that really matter as much as just the offense showing up? That's, again, the classic push-pull that we're going to try to discover this weekend. Because make no mistake, Alabama's offense is their weakness, but it is not nearly as bad as what the LSU defense has been. I mean, hell, Jalen Milroe is the second highest rated passer in the SEC, top 10 in the entire country. So it's a fascinating matchup. And to me, it all kind of hinges on that LSU offensive line and whether or not they can control the front seven. And if they can, and if LSU can run the ball effectively, then I think Alabama's in trouble. If that's not the case, then I would put the power back over to the Tide.
So when it comes to the LSU defense, it's like the Titanic, a great boat, except for those damn icebergs. I get it.
Yeah. I mean, even to give the LSU defense Titanic status, though, is like, that's even not. I mean, they're not deserving of that, though, right? It's like it's like a shoddily constructed, just horrible boat that you and your friends tried to make over one summer and then take out the sail. I mean, they're awful. Like make no mistake, they've done slightly better lately, but they have been awful for the majority of the year.
A serious question. How many possessions do you think LSU gets in this football game? Because I have a feeling Nick Saban's going to try to keep that number as small as possible.
Yeah, I mean, you would think if you're just game planning that Alabama running the ball and trying to control the clock would be part and parcel with putting their best game plan against Jaden Daniels, right? What's the average possessions now in a game post rule changes?
I would
like 10.
I would guess 10, 9 or 10.
Yeah.
8 to 10, maybe 9 to 10. Yeah, I mean, if you get that number down to like 8, well, then that's a significant advantage for Alabama there. One thing about the LSU defense, if I did want to give them some credit, is that they have been pretty good against running teams in terms of like, well, I mean, look, Mississippi State's complete garbage, right? But they did well there. They did well against Auburn, Army's whatever. But like, if you're just looking at when they've been exploited, it hasn't been as often on the ground as it has been through the air. So maybe I think with this Alabama offense, the real key is, and everybody knows this, they've made a lot of hay with their explosivity. I think you got to force Alabama to play underneath you, try to sustain drives, and they will make mistakes. However, the catch-22 there is if you try to lean on that, and then they do sustain drives, well, then you've taken away from Jaden Daniels, right? And then you're kind of hurting your offensive chances. So turns out when you have an awful Achilles heel, it's pretty bad. Like, it's a weakness that can be exploited. And that's exactly what LSU has. They have Achilles in the form of Jaden Daniels and this incredible offense, and then that freaking thing on the back of their leg, that's the defense.
Yeah. All of a sudden, I think he's talked himself into the bathhouses are still open for the Roman Empire. He's talked himself back
Alabama
into
can suck on D's. How about that? Look, you're talking about an Alabama team. Again, guys, while it's this is not the Alabama of old. Already you're seeing it. You're losing by 10 points at home to Texas, a bad Texas team, not even a good Texas team. I mean, that's the biggest takeaway from the college football playoff. The Big 12 doesn't even control their own destiny. That's what a pathetic conference it is. They're the only conference that can't get into the Final Four if everybody else does their job.
Hey,
even with that Alabama win that Steve Sarkisian's out here filleting himself to. So, no, look, you're a 10 at home to Texas. The quarterback situation's a joke. You got Tommy Reese as your OC. You use some evil necromantic magic to give life to the old windbag that is Kevin Steele and brought that quote stumbling out of wherever you found him to be your DC. I mean, like, even like that's the sad part about Alabama. Even if you win on Saturday, it's still all over, boys. It's still all over. Kirby done cucked you. He took everything from you, and he's left you nothing behind except for Jalen Milroe and Tommy Reese.
Hey, T-Bob, we know fans are crazy, but is there an optimism with LSU fans? Because I agree with you. I think the Big 12, and I think it could be this weekend. I think Oklahoma State can knock off Oklahoma. K-State takes down Texas. Big 12 dirt on top. But is there optimism amongst LSU fans? They win this game, win out, beat undefeated Georgia. They could become that 2-loss team in the final year of a 14 playoff getting in.
There's optimism in that, like, if your favorite team did that run, of course you'd be like, you have to put the SEC champion in, right? I don't think it would happen. It would take 07 levels of chicanery to make that come about. So, no, I think a 2-loss LSU does not make the playoff, and I think a 1-loss Georgia should not make the playoff, which is why I want LSU to do it, because F the SEC. Burn it all down. I don't want anybody to have success. I want LSU to play pure agent of chaos here and to completely ruin the SEC's chances going into this last Final Four. Let all the other conferences make it. Let the Big Ten get 2 teams in. I don't give a damn. As long as Alabama and Georgia don't go, that'll make me and many others a happy camper.
It is T-Bob Hebert, at T-Bob53 on Twitter. He is the center of attention. You can catch he and Aaron Murray on Snaps as well on Volume. Just go to the Volume website. Go to the, what crap, I don't know, man.
Yeah, no, look,
go to Try to Sound Smart.
/@VolumeSnaps.
There you go.
YouTube.com/@VolumeSnaps. And then check out Rivals Down South with me and AJ McCarron on Stadium, even though AJ, it turns out, like right after he started the show, started working for the Bengals again.
Yeah,
so we only get him like Tuesdays and Fridays. But still, I've gotten some fascinating Nick Saban and Alabama insight from AJ, as obviously he's as tuned in as anyone is with what's going on with the Tide.
Yep. Always fun, T-Bob. Thank you very much for the time. Have a great weekend.
Thank y'all, boys.
All right, buddy.
Look, man, make sure to send me pictures when y'all are upset tomorrow.
Okay.
Or Saturday. Whatever it is,
Yeah,
okay?
Saturday.
All the tears.
Yeah,
Fill my
we'll send you the
cup.
tear photos. Yes,
Videos.
sir.
Oh,
as well.
I need your studio address because if LSU loses, our friends at Blakely's Bouquets, I'm sending you a funeral arrangement.
Oh, bro, that's the thing though. You can't hurt me. What do they say in Game of Thrones? What is drowned may never die, or what is dead may never die. Like, I mean, you can't kill me. We're fine. We lost 8 of these things in a row. What's one more? We won 2 in the last 4. Who gives a damn? But you, on the other hand, you better not lose 2 in a row to BK. You boys, take it easy.
See you, T-Bob. T-Bob Hebert with us on the JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline. That is always an experience.